Hi, Islamic Dad here. If you enjoy this channel, please subscribe. It does help me out a lot. Today I'm going to do a video on delusion and the narcissist. Specifically, how the narcissist typically has different coping mechanisms for dealing with life and their own pain, etc. And most of them are maladaptive and end up doing harm to either themselves or others. And one that I had just watched a talk on today from a psychologist was the narcissist and how they use delusion as a coping mechanism and kind of where that can go. So, at the very bottom, I say like an easy example around this would be someone who works at a company, and say the company's downtown or something like that, and say it's a large company, maybe even Fortune 500. And they may tell people like, yeah, I work for that Fortune 500 company downtown. And, that's a very important company, kind of puffing themselves up with this. And then as you maybe get to know them better, they probably don't offer this information up front, but you figure out that their job at this Fortune 500 company is that they're a telemarketer, basically, probably making, minimum wage or commission or something like that. And that's one example of how a narcissist, because they are obsessed with how others perceive them, and honestly how they perceive themselves, will tell themselves these lies. And again, this goes to something that I've mentioned many times on my own channel, is that my experience with narcissists, one of the things that I'll always, point out that's just so strange to me is that they will say the most outrageous lie, but if you put them on, say, a polygraph lie detector test, they will pass, because in their mind they've convinced themselves that the lie that they are telling is now the truth. And again, psychologically speaking, that is pretty much the definition of delusion, is where you have a falsehood that you truly believe. And what is kind of different about, say, narcissism from some other people that may have delusions, is that with the narcissist, the delusions have a very specific purpose. The delusion is either to take away pain from themselves for shame, guilt, judgment they may feel towards themselves, or it is to take away pain, that they may feel from others judging them, or it might be to kind of put up a defense against that perception of either judging themselves or feeling judged by others happening at some point in the future. So they will make up this narrative about who they are, what they're doing, and what their life is. I mean, to some degree, even what other people think of them. I know that my covert narcissist was cuckoo crazy about that. I mean, that was one of her favorite delusions, was people with status within the, say, music industry, that she would always act like they were all best friends, when in fact the people in the band barely knew who she was. But again, she would just tell herself, oh yeah, I'm friends with them and stuff like that. And the fact was like, yeah, they'd seen her before, and like, knew of her. But anyways, that's a bit of a tangent. So the point that this psychologist was making with his talk was that he was pointing out that one way to measure the degree to which a person is or is not a narcissist, or that they are, say, controlling or moderating their narcissism, is to measure the reality versus the delusion that they are living. And so what he pointed out was that if you have someone, a narcissist who is in a great deal of pain, they feel a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, they are judging themselves, they feel judged by others. I mean, they are really at the bottom, maybe going towards narcissistic collapse. That very often at that point, the coping mechanism that the narcissist will go to will be to dive head first into delusion. And at that point, their lies will become crazier. The stories that they tell themselves will become more extreme, and that they will just continually, build up this delusional world that it becomes farther and farther and farther away from reality. And, in my own experiences with my, the two narcissists that have been close to me, I don't know if I've seen them go that far myself, but it has been interesting to see kind of the ups and downs in dealing with them, how there might be times when, for the most part, they're fairly grounded in reality. And then other parts, if they feel stressed, judged, shame, it can just ramp right up very quickly. And again, this can become dangerous in some ways, because what happens is that the narcissist will try to reinforce their delusions by broadcasting them to people around them. They may start with friends, or close friends. They may start with family members. And once, that's done, or maybe it's not enough for the narcissist and they're still feeling that stress, they will continually push it out farther to where they maybe broadcast this to acquaintances and to coworkers, and maybe the person at Target that they're in line with, and that they will broadcast this delusional story, their narrative, in order to kind of get validation for it, or at least that's their hope. And so it might be a situation where, like I used in my previous video, like the cookie jar, which I'm starting to think is a really good, example to use for almost everything with dealing with narcissists and their actions and how they think. So the narcissist grabs a cookie out of the cookie jar while no one's looking, takes it, eats it up. Then people realize that the cookie is gone, and instead of just being quiet, or instead of saying, hey, I was hungry, that was on me, I just couldn't help myself, I was starving. Instead of doing either of those things, they will point to someone, maybe a sibling, maybe a spouse, maybe a partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may point at them and say they took the cookie. But the thing is, they're not accusing them, like, say, in public, or accusing them to that person. They're going to their friend and saying, you know what? I can't believe it. My boyfriend, they stole a cookie out of the cookie jar. Yeah, isn't that nuts? That's terrible. Or they might go to, a coworker or an acquaintance and say, yeah, my girlfriend, yeah, she went in the cookie jar and stole a cookie. And yeah, that's nuts. And they will repeat this narrative more and more and more. And it's as if in the narcissist mind, the more that they can repeat the narrative and get more external people to believe the narrative that they've fabricated, then the more real it becomes. And yeah, I mean, I'll let you connect the dots, but that can get scary if you have, say, like a malignant narcissist who starts, going down this route. And so, very similar to what you may see in the smear campaign is where the narcissist will have this delusion that they've concocted in their head to take away all guilt, all shame, that, from anything that they've done, and then project that onto the target, and then tell everyone in the world what the target, or what they did, but actually say the target's name and be like, oh yeah, they did this and they did this. And again, it's like the more people they tell, it's as if the narcissist feels like the delusional world that they've created is just getting reinforced and reinforced and reinforced and becoming more and more real. So yeah, I'd make this video. I'll have to think about it more, because I feel like, again, this is like one of those areas that's not really touched on too much, where everyone knows, narcissists say really weird things. Everyone knows narcissists lie about things that don't matter. And, more frighteningly, very often narcissists will lie with complete sincerity. And if you give them a polygraph, they would pass because they believe their own lie. And this kind of can be, looked at more and expanded upon as just this huge, coping mechanism that the narcissist has for life. And that creating this delusional world for them to live in, and these, this delusional description of who they are and their great achievements and how they're friends with everyone and they're famous and everyone is envious of them. And then also all the bad things that all the people do around them, and just project. And how for, one model to look at how the narcissist thinks, lives, what their motivation is, can be tied back in a lot of ways to just maintaining this delusional world, this delusional narrative that they've created, and just kind of use, as they would rather live in this delusional world that they create than ever actually go out into the real world. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Thanks.